We got our first glimpse at what DMZ mode is going to look like, and it was hidden in the Modern Warfare 2 campaign. Now, for those of you who have played the Modern Warfare 2 campaign, there are a ton of features in there that 100% are going to feature in the DMZ mode. Now, for those of you who are unaware, DMZ is the Escape from Tarkov extraction-based mode that is going to launch on the same day as Warzone 2 on the same Mazrah map. But the campaign showed us a little bit more, showing us what kind of AI we might encounter in the strongholds, as well as showing us some mechanics that are going to feature in the game, which implies that DMZ is actually a lot more thought out than maybe we first assumed. Now, a lot of us are worried that DMZ mode is just going to be this kick to the curb game mode that's unfortunately a little bit like Battlefield 2042's Hazard Zone. But these features indicate that there might actually be a lot more depth to it than we realize. So let's have a quick look at what was in the campaign that's most likely going to be in DMZ mode. Well, to start with, we have an attachment system. If you look around in some of the missions in the campaign, it is possible to attach attachments out of individual loot boxes directly to the weapon that you have equipped. Now, there's no menu for this, but if you have the gun in your hands, and you select an attachment such as an optic, it simply slaps it onto the weapon. And speaking of these boxes where you can find attachments, they also had explosives in them, different supplies like chemicals and metal, and who knows, there might even be a currency system in DMZ, or perhaps you'll even be able to find weapons in some of these boxes located around the map. In certain missions you could find C4, and there were other weapon cases as well dotted throughout the campaign, so it's definitely entirely possible that there's going to be a full, extensive looting system of containers in the game. And this links in quite heavily to a couple of other things we've seen in the game. For example, the ability to create a pry open tool to break open specific boxes with specific items, and also the ability to have a lockpick system in the game that you can actually break open in the campaign by finding certain information like a date of birth. Now, these are likely going to be a little bit more complex. Who knows, we might see keycards, we might see notes that might have the actual combination on them like we see in Escape from Tarkov, but it looks like whether it's breaking a lock, picking a lock, prying open a lock, shooting a lock, or perhaps even opening something like a safe by finding information on the map, DMZ is going to have some looting systems tied to these mechanics, and you'll be able to access and interact with the world's surroundings. We've already seen in Warzone 2 that things like medkits can be found in first aid kits in bathrooms, and you can also find ammunition through certain boxes. And now in the campaign we've seen boxes with weapons and explosives, boxes hidden behind pry tools, and boxes with combination locks. And it's likely all of these are going to feature in the DMZ and Mazrah setting. There were a couple of other things that we learned that are in the game that will likely feature in the DMZ mode as well. For example, the ability to craft certain items. I've already mentioned the pry tool, but there was also things like explosive traps and Molotov cocktails. And who knows, this list could end up being quite extensive. You might be able to craft certain attachments, like a suppressor, by combining, I don't know, like a water bottle and tape like you do in DayZ. But the important thing here is that the game has both the UI and the logic inside the game engine to identify that you need multiple parts to craft something and to have an inventory system to make it happen. We have no idea how extensive this is going to be. It could just be very surface level, but at least these features are in the game. In the DMZ mode, we also know that there are strongholds in the game that are going to feature heavily armored AI, which potentially will have better loot hidden behind them. And I think we got a first look at some of the AI that's going to feature. For example, the campaign has the heavily armored AI, which come with both head armor and body armor, and also is super aggressive and tend to one-shot headshot you if you're not careful. We also have the Riot Shield AI, which features in the game, Riot Shielders who can rush you, as well as snipers too, so it's a good chance that a lot of the AI you saw in the campaign, be it heavily armored, riot shielders, sniper rifles, or just the generic standard soldier, are likely going to feature in the game on DMZ in these stronghold locations defending loot. Now this last part is a little bit more speculative, but we've also potentially learned about what more advanced attachments might look like in the DMZ mode. For example, in the campaign you had night vision, thermal optics, suppressed sniper rifles, the kinds of things that in games like Tarkov are super important to come by and very, very expensive. And these could also be the case in DMZ. It is entirely possible that thermal optics, NVGs, and high caliber weapons are weapons which are distinctly quite difficult to get hold of. But we'll have to wait until November 16th to get full confirmation. Either way, there are lots of really impressive features in terms of UI, logic, and inventory and crafting in the campaign, as well as some unique AI in the game that could mean that DMZ is going to be much more than a throwaway mode, and actually something that gets a fair amount of attention. We've already seen some of these inventory systems in the early builds of Warzone 2, and some of the interaction systems with loot and ammo and health, and it's a good chance that that is going to keep on happening and be a little bit more extensive and more fleshed out in the DMZ mode. That's about it for this video today, and honestly, we don't know what the future is going to hold for DMZ mode beyond seeing some of these features in the campaign, and fingers crossed it will be a decent experience. If this video was helpful, leave a subscribe, leave a like, we're close to 100,000 subscribers, and I'll catch you in the next one.